This is Phyllis Pastore. She and I were neighbors for 10 years when I lived in Queens. I have changed numerous bulbs for her, as well as did a few alcohol runs during shelter in place. She has thus far had an amazingly full life and has been a cabaret singer in New York City for all these years.
I thought that it would be really lovely if we kick it off with what you do best. Take it away.
But okay, I'm going to play this song. This is uh, it's a mashup of two old songs, and especially today with all this cloud and gloom, I think that it's a couple of good little songs put together. The track is played by my pal Bobby Pico, who is a wonderful pianist that I've known for many years, and he's moved to Florida, so I'm pleased to have this track of him playing. So away we go. Let's see how this experiment works. That's better. Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. When skies are cloudy and gray, they're only gray for a day. So wrap your troubles in dreams and dream your troubles away until that sunshine breaks through. There's only one thing to do. Just wrap your troubles in dreams and dream your troubles away. Castles may crumble, that's fate after all. Life's really funny that way. No use to grumble, just laugh when they fall. Weren't you king for a day? Just remember that sunshine always follows the rain. So wrap your troubles in dreams and dream your troubles away.
I just realized that as you were singing, I don't know if I ever asked you that question. You know, did you move to New York to pursue music? Is that?
Yeah, I did. I'm from Colorado. I'd been singing in Denver with a partner, and he wanted to move to New York. I hadn't really thought about it, but I felt like I needed to try. It was a difficult decision, but I thought if I don't try, then I'll be kicking myself in the butt for the rest of my life. So I moved here basically to sing. I got a job as a rehab counselor at Rusk Institute because I have a master's degree in rehab counseling. And I got a job working at Don't Tell Mama in the piano bar at night. And I did that for about a year, and I was like working from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon in the hospital, and from 9 at night till 4 in the morning in the bar. It was not a fun time. And finally, I just thought I didn't move here to be a counselor, so I quit the job and I just started working in the bars.
When was this? What time period is this?
That was 1988. That was in 1988.
Was the cabaret scene a pretty big scene at the time in New York?
Yeah, it was. And it had dwindled a little by the time I got here. But when I got here, there were some magnificent people singing in the clubs. I mean, like Indina Menzel was singing in the club from Wicked on Broadway. She was singing in the piano bars, being a singing waitress.
Are any of the piano bars still around?
Yeah. Don't Tell Mama is still around. and the Duplex is still around,
Right.
and Brandy's is still around. There's a new one, my new fave place, Pangea, which really suffered during the pandemic. They had, of course, all the bars had to close, but they're smaller and relatively new. But you know what? The people gathered round, rallied around, and they did a GoFundMe and raised a bunch of money, and they just reopened. They've got outdoor seating for their restaurant, and they don't have the music yet, but they managed to stay afloat. So fingers crossed for them.
I'm very excited because that's where we saw you last,
Yeah.
and that was your anniversary show.
Yeah.
What is it, like 35 years of
30
living in New
years,
York,
yeah.
30 years of living in New York. And it was just such a lovely way to see your entire community come together, from various jobs that you had, from all the people in the industry, the cabaret scene. It was just it felt like a living room, like we were in your living room and you were just gathering all of your friends and family. So I'm glad that they're still around.
Through the years, I've done so many shows. As we were talking earlier, there were a lot more clubs then. Well, then I started going to Greece every year. I started that in 1992, and so I didn't do as many shows in New York. So doing shows in New York kind of dwindled off because it's an expensive proposition to do a show. They're all self-produced. You don't get paid. You get paid by the number of people that come in the door.
Right.
And you split that with the club. And so, it's not, people don't get rich from doing cabaret.
Was it always your desire to go into specific cabaret? Were you trying other things? Like, how did you actually pick this? It's a very unique and not a money-making venture,
Well,
if you
that's
will.
sort of my thing, If it's hard and not going to be very worthwhile, that's where I'll be. But stars shining bright above you, night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me while I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Because I never even thought about singing until I was in Denver tending bar. And the guy that owned the bar loved music. He loved it. And so every Monday he would have a jazz jam session. And because none of the jazz musicians in Denver were working on Mondays, they would all come to this little bar. It was on a par 3 golf course. And so some of the best players in Denver were there. And they taught me. I would sing behind the bar into the soda gun. And one of the guys said, "Are you singing? Are you really singing?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, come up here and sing." And the pianist, this one great jazz pianist in Denver, said to me, "Phyllis, you have a Broadway voice. You have a theater voice." He said, "You can swing and you can do all that, but your voice is meant for the theater." And he said, "And if anybody tells you any different, and if you find a pianist who can't or won't play that for you, then you just find another pianist, because this is your thing." I didn't really start singing till I was in my 30s.
And when you came to New York, you obviously came with your partner, but how hard was it to tap into the scene? Like, how easy it is for, at that time, to just sort of show up and be like, I want to work with people and sing? And
well, it was easier than I thought it would be. The first week I moved to New York, I went to 88's, the piano bar in the Village, and a woman named, it was Halloween, the Halloween parade and everything else going on in the Village. It was wild. And my friend Bobby Pico was at the piano, and this woman, Amy Ryder, was the waitress, and she was singing. And I don't know what about me said I was a singer, but she came up to me and she said, "Do you want to sing?" And I was shocked. And I didn't, of course, because I just pretty much just gotten off the plane. But after that, people were very supportive, really supportive. Then I auditioned for my first show at Don't Tell Mama, and they said, "Yeah, we'd love for you to do a show here." The owner liked me. He called the press. The press liked me. It would just kind of, within that first year, I was on everybody's radar. So it was a lot easier than I thought. The hard part is getting people to come to see you. Really hard.
Right.
And it's still hard. There are just so many people in that same boat, so many people putting up their shows. They do 2 shows a night, 7 nights a week in those clubs. You had to go into the bars with paper flyers and sing a couple of songs and then hand out your flyers to all these people that had been drinking heavily. But when I was nominated for my debut show for a MAC, and I won the Bistro Award for female vocalist that year. And
what year is this?
Oh gosh, it was maybe in the early 90s, I guess.
Okay.
And that helped. About you.
And what was the opportunity in Greece? Like, why did you take that? Just because you wanted to have your ass on the beach or in sunshine for 2 months?
Well, it was a great opportunity because I was singing in a club. I was singing in a small club. I didn't have to beat the pavement for people to come. Like they'd know, people knew the music started at 9 and people were there at 8:30 to get a seat. And it was
a grateful audience.
Yeah, it's wonderful when you're the only game in town. That doesn't hurt.
But I wanted to, you were talking about all these piano bars, and obviously, like, we're in a state of transition, and piano bars are all small, intimate spaces where you're pretty much breathing on each other, and it's all about that experience, like about being close together, and it's like palpable, and the physical presence is so important because everybody's swaying and people are shouting or asking for requests, and you're feeding off of that. There's just so much banter and back and forth, and that's such a key element of cabaret scene. Like, how do you, you've lived through quite a lot. I moved here in 2001 and I feel like I have endured plenty, but how do you think that this is going to transition? Like, what do you see for this world of cabaret and performance in general?
Don't Tell Mama is a bit bigger because they have their piano bar space as well as the cabaret rooms. And in fact, their piano bar has opened. They've opened up their outside and they seat a pianist outside on a keyboard, and they have their singing waiters and coming out and around to tables outside. And it's
maybe we'll try that.
Yeah, they're singing with masks and playing with masks and serving with masks. But 46th Street seems to be kind of jumping, and it's kind of cool for the block because there's live music being pumped through the whole blocks. But there's not going to be any more of that crowding 120 people into a 100-seat room. That's just not going to happen. I just don't see it happening.
That makes me sad here, but I think when you go see a show, that's the energy that you miss. You want to see the people, and so just you saying that they're singing with masks on, I'm like, no. But
so many of the piano bar and cabaret performers have been doing online piano bar stuff, and it's kind of interesting. They're doing it very much like this. Billy Stritch, who's famous, he played for everyone, including Tony Bennett and Liza and everybody, and he does a thing every week with Linda Lavin, and he also does his own piano bar kind of thing where people can call in requests and they can tip through Venmo and
then melt away. I hear music when I touch your hand. a beautiful melody from some enchanted land. Down deep in my heart, I hear it say, is this the day?
And it's fantastic.
I think there's something so you're coming out for the community, so them doing that for themselves, right? And they're not going to make a lot of money out of it, but they need to play, they need to keep it fresh, they need to keep training and just staying with the music, and then the ability to, it's a gift to people around them.
Oh.
We have a guy across the street, when they were banging on the 7 p.m. For the essential workers, the band just grew. So I couldn't tell through the trees because we were always at home, but they had they would every single night they would play When the Saints Go Marching In.
The thing that's most impressive is the creativity that people have shown through all of this. How to get around it, how to make it work, how to make the technology work.
Creative people, it's our way of surviving, and I think that we have to tap into all of our resources in order to make sure that we can navigate whatever it is in front of us, be it a financial crisis, because now we have everything, the medical, the financial, like all of it is sort of overlapping, and it's going to be pretty uneasy.
There's a guy, Seth Rudetsky, who has been around the cabaret and Broadway world for a long, long time. He is what you call a mensch, this guy. He has been putting on shows with Broadway singers, and they spend an hour with him and they sing and they chat, and all the proceeds, he charges $25, I think. It's through Broadway.com. And all of the proceeds that Seth earns from this has gone to the Actors Fund, which is just a magnificent organization that has helped a lot of actors and musicians in New York live, medical needs filled, housing, clothing, whatever they need, and the Actors Fund is there. And he's raised so much money for the Actors Fund, it's just not even believable. I watched last weekend where he had Megan Hilty. She did that TV show.
Suddenly Seymour is here to provide you with sweet understanding. Seymour's your friend.
Nobody ever treated me kindly. Daddy left early and Mama was poor. I'd meet a man and I'd follow him blindly. He'd snap his fingers at me. I'd say.
But I'm so impressed with Seth and the work and the commitment that he's made to the whole theater, cabaret, and acting community, and to be so charitable about it.
That's amazing.
It's really been, I think I've found most of the people I know have been extremely charitable in their presentations.
There's a lot of solidarity. Well, with that inspiring note about Seth, I'd love to know what has sort of gotten you through this period. Is there anything that you have found incredibly inspiring, impressive, something that you feel like you'd want people to know, that you'd love to share, that has touched you and kind of pushed you forward in these last 4 months now?
And one wonderful thing I did, a friend of mine is a tour guide, and he used to do live tours of the Statue of Liberty, and now his company is doing virtual tours of all these places. And
what's the name of the company?
I need to look it up. I can't remember. But we took a tour with him of the Statue of Liberty.
Nice.
Something I would not have ever done. It's called Take Walks, www.takewalks.com, and they have tours from home. So I took the Statue of Liberty tour, and then the next weekend I took a tour of the Acropolis in Athens. And the tour guide was actually in Athens. So it was fantastic, and it cost $10. Very interesting. I've had a great time with those. I think that's been the most touching is people calling me on a regular basis, or emailing or Zooming or whatever. I've been taking a lot of classes. I belong to this, I've been doing voiceover work.
I wanted to actually ask you about your voiceover. How is the Scottish book coming along?
It's done. It's
Give me that character, please. Can you give me the character? I would
the
love
Scottish one. Scottish
Yes.
guys that I know from Mykonos are like, you know, Phyllis, there's a song we'd like you to sing for us. We think it's the story of your life.
But this is actually the one thing that when I talk about you to my friends, and like when I mention your name to my mom, and there's such positivity and optimism in you, like regardless of what. How do you cultivate that? Like, how do you have that? Are you just naturally an optimistic person? Like, I'm wondering about that.
I try to be. I try to work at it. I can get into my own head and do the poor me, but one thing, part of it is being a counselor. I always try, when somebody is talking to me, I always try to say, and how are you? Because I have so many friends that will just talk and 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 never ask me how I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to do that. But also, I feel like you were saying about the dark cloud.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that does manifest itself. And I feel like it's like training. It's reflex training.
Mm-hmm.
If you train yourself to look at the glass half full, then the glass is going to be half full. Yeah. Every day I cry.
You do?
Not for very long, but every day I cry. I almost cried during my song. I almost, every day I cry a little bit, and I've decided I'm not going to stop myself. I'm just going to let it go. If it lasts 5 minutes, if it lasts a half hour, usually never lasts that long, but it feels better and it gets rid of the stress. It's not very helpful or healthy mentally or physically to stay in that place of anger and depression for very long. You just can't.
Yeah, it will eat you. Yeah.
And honestly, I just feel like when I look at my life and the experiences I've had in the grand scheme of things, I've had a pretty exciting, fun, great life. We all have bad times, but those aren't the things I choose to focus on. So it feels a lot better to laugh than to cry.
It was 30 years ago. I hardly can believe it. Left my Rocky Mountain home for NYC. And of course I didn't know that by making that decision, just what this city had in store for me. I am now a part of an international family, which has made me all that I've become today. So with 30 years gone by, as I look at all your faces, there's something I sincerely want to say. You must be starved for entertainment. It's a deprivation that's become widespread. You arrive from far and near, thinking when you walk in here, you'll find a 60-something lady with foam rubber on her head, playing kazoo and scolding you about your cell phone. Yes, I know it's not a theater, it's a bar. Still, we battle every year, and there's one thing that is clear. This phenomenon is really quite bizarre. You must be starved for